Some more perspective on this. I'm joined by Ali Murtaza, who's a film critic. Ali, hi. Great to have you on the show. Just first your take on, this trend that we're seeing and on Shamshera, etc., because these are reports that we're quoting, right? That some of the shows were cancelled. Are we seeing this more and more over the last few releases?
See, there are several factors that you have to take into play. But first and foremost, you have to understand that content is the ultimate driver now. If anything that we have learned over the last 2 years, especially, at the height of the pandemic, is that content is really the king. And when I speak of content, I don't just mean the movie. It starts from the trailer stage. So, if the trailer is not sorted, if right from the first go, the impression is not cast, then it's inevitable that the movie will suffer this kind of fate. The thing with Shamshera's trailer was that, somewhere a lot of us, critics and a lot of the viewers, they sensed it somewhere that it's nothing but a pastiche of, some of the older films that we have been watching. Bachchan Sahab, have done so much of this kind of stuff back in the 70s. A lot of South Indian films have been doing something on the similar
Ali,
lines.
It seems a little harsh to decide not to see a movie because the trailer may be subpar. Is that it? A lousy trailer?
That is the most important factor, if you ask me right now, because that is when you get the first hold of something. And when the trailer is not done well, if the trailer give you this sense of impression that it's a pastiche, it's something that they are trying to recreate, it's something that they are trying to recreate from the old Bachchan Sahab phenomena, the angry young man, or if they are trying to imitate, South or maybe Hollywood, then it's a total no. And that's what Shamshera, suffered right from the word go. And now, even though, that the first day is bad, there's still hope. If the word of mouth does wonders, if the people who are going to the theaters, if somehow they feel that the film is good, and if they are able to spread this word of mouth, then, that is the only hope left.
No, but,
film.
I don't want to hate on Shamshera. And this whole story and this discussion is not just about Shamshera. Shamshera, like you're saying, may pick up. But look at all of the releases and many of the releases over the last few days. Big names, Prithviraj, Samrat, etc., etc. Why are people not going into the theaters? I mean, it would be incorrect to say that the COVID effect is still, there and it's a hangover, because you look at the malls, you look at the airlines, you look at the restaurants, they're all full.
The great irony is that Sanjay Dutt is the common factor between KGF 2 and Shamshera. And the same Sanjay Dutt is able to pull audiences to the theaters when he's doing a KGF 2. And the same Sanjay Dutt here is not able to do that. So clearly it has nothing to do with, COVID or pandemic. It has more to do with, this larger picture that I'm trying to portray, of which content is a very important part of. But you also have to understand that another issue is into play now. And you mentioned OTT. Let me elaborate a little. Now, what has happened is that a lot of these producers, they are now entering deals, with OTT content providers. Now, what happens is that they say, okay, we'll give you a run after 2 weeks of theatrical run. We'll give you a clear run after 3 weeks of theatrical run. So that means that after just 2 weeks of theatrical run, the film is out on OTT. They enter these exclusive deals even before a film is released. This comes out on the OTT that, okay, from 2 weeks from now, this film will be out on Netflix. This film will be out on Amazon, say 3 weeks from now. So the audiences are also very smart. They say that, okay, I'm paying 500 rupees for my Netflix subscription. So that means that by the end of next 2 weeks, or maybe by the third week, I'll get this film on my
but
OTT,
again, what doesn't explain, then we just show the poster and collections of Bhool Bhulaiya 2. That also eventually came on OTT. People still went to watch it.
So that's what
Movies
I'm saying.
like
I'm trying
Pushpa,
to project this bigger
RRR.
picture.
There's a different story there.
See, you have to see the whole perspective. One, as I said, trailer. That is the real deal breaker. So if you look at Bhool Bhulaiya, it has a certain following. Bhool Bhulaiya 1 was a huge hit. So there's this cult following of Bhool Bhulaiya, plus the trailer added to that mystique. And that's why people, went ahead, and then the word of mouth did wonders. Similarly with KGF 2. And in case of Pushpa, the trailer really did the wonders, and that was added up by the word of mouth. But in this case, what has happened, and in Prithviraj case, right from the word go, everybody said it's a bad trailer. Oh, Akshay is not looking the part. Oh, his mustache is, looking fake. So all these things, because we are living in a world where there is a constant
now just this big story, this big, question when it comes to content, where pan-Indian movies, movies made in the south of India, are doing phenomenally well. Their Hindi dubbed versions are doing phenomenally well. Is it also indicating that the audience, which has been fed heavily on a diet of OTT content, has now discovered different languages as content, has become more picky? The same formula, the same kind of script, the same, scenic locations is not going to work anymore. And maybe the biggest producers in Bollywood have not picked up on that yet. They don't want to take the risk.
See, let me also bring you to another factor, which I think Akshay Kumar brilliantly pointed out yesterday in that episode of, recently in that episode of Coffee with Karan. And he says that today, if I want to make a multi-starrer, then the Bollywood heroes, I'm saying the male heroes, so to say, they have such big egos that they don't want to, do multi-starrers. They feel insecure. They say, no, I only want to do a solo thing. So they're okay with maybe, having Sanjay Dutt as a villain, but they would not have, two, maybe say a Ranveer and a Ranveer doing it, or maybe a Shahid or a Ranveer doing it. Or it's like getting a little more difficult to bring two big, Bollywood A-listers together in a film. If you look at South, they're always open to doing multi-stars. You look at RRR, you look at Bahubali.
I saw that comment, what you're talking about, but I'm not so sure if that's the only reason. You have to have a script. You have to have a plan.
The bigger picture that I'm trying. You have to look at the bigger picture that I'm trying to portray. There's no one factor in play. There are several factors in play, and there are a lot of